from WCIA 3 Plus. With Ethan Holesha and Tyler Hill, this is Midwest Mashup.
Welcome inside Midwest Mashup as we hit episode 26 here at the WCIA Plus Studios. My name is Tyler Hill. We're going to be going through a lot today. Stop me if you've heard this before. Jam-packed show. We're hitting both our football teams, the Colts and the Bears, in terms of their offseason, what they're looking to do. What would we do if we were in the GM seat? Ton of fun trades for one of our NBA teams, and then we'll finish out with hockey and a little bit of baseball if we have time to get to it. Who's going through all that with me? You already know, as usual, Ethan Holesha. Ethan, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Interestingly enough, I feel like the biggest news, this episode isn't revolving around football. I feel like the basketball world is kind of on fire right now. Obviously, there's a lot of decisions to be made for both the Bears and the Colts coming off of this season, but there's a lot going on in the world of sports.
Yeah, some really fun trades, specifically outside of the two teams we cover, the Bulls and the Pacers.
Yeah.
I saw the Utah Jazz made a good trade bringing in Jaren Jackson Jr. I like that a lot for the way that they're building their team, and we'll see if Giannis gets traded, right? The Bulls are in those sweepstakes, allegedly. I don't see how they get it done, but he has pseudo-requested a trade, and that's probably the biggest news in all of sports right now. But that is coming up. Right now, we are going to talk about the Bears offseason. A ton of stuff to do to capitalize on what was a breakout season for Ben Johnson and co. in their first season together. Caleb playing a lot better. The offensive line looking a lot better. But before we even get into any of that, you're never going to keep all your coaching staff and all your players. And so there's a couple guys that have left. Ethan, let the people know.
Yeah, and honestly, not a huge surprise. I feel like when a team kind of shows up out of nowhere and starts having that success, a lot of these coaches are going to get poached. So I'll take you through a brief timeline from the past couple of weeks. January 23rd, running backs coach Eric Bieniemy leaves to become Chiefs OC. Now, he was the OC there before 2018, 2022. Obviously, they're moving on from Matt Nagy. So kind of a whole Bears circle there. But moving forward to January 26th, Declan Doyle is, he withdrew his name from consideration for the Eagles. So a lot of people thought that he was going to opt to remain in Chicago. But a few days later, it was announced the Ravens hired him as their OC. And I kind of understand it because he wasn't calling plays here. Obviously, that was Ben's job. Two big moves there. Falcons hire assistant GM Ian Cunningham as their new GM. I understand that Matt Ryan's still, I guess, like the lead executive over there,
right,
from what I saw. And then one person coming in is hiring offensive coordinator Will Lawing from Boston College. His role is still to be determined, but just, I guess, to recap, a lot of moving parts so far.
Yeah, and when we put this in the doc and when I was looking at this, it's not as bad as I would have thought. If you would have just said who was going to leave, I mean, I know Al Blade is the corners coach. Like, there was a ton of smoke that he was going to get hired for a DC position.
Mm-hmm. At
this point, he's not. Now, the coaching cycle is not fully over yet, so he
Right.
still very well could. But at this point of recording, this is Wednesday, February 4th, just double check and make sure. Right now, he is still in position. That's huge. A lot of defensive staff. And then this is the great thing about having a guy like Ben Johnson as your head coach is that no matter what, your play caller's not leaving. So you
Right.
don't have to worry about Caleb, being on his fifth offensive coordinator in 4 years and all these things that you've seen with organizations like the Jets with Sam Darnold or the Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield, all these organizations that have that revolving door and you go, wow, I know he's playing bad, but he's on his third system in 3 years. Like, how are you supposed to get comfortable?
Stability. Yeah.
And so we've loved the Ben Johnson hire from when it happened, right? And there's so many reasons for that, but I think one of, if not the biggest, is you get to keep. You don't brain drain your offense ever. It is Ben Johnson, and it will be going forward.
And 100%. And I think that, just with the success Ben saw in his first year, you have to imagine the team is bought all in at this point.
Oh,
he's gonna be here for the long haul. And like you said, just the fact that he calls plays and he's the head coach, it's a bit of a Swiss Army knife, role for him. Yes, the OC still matters, but it wouldn't matter as much for a team like, the Ravens now, who are looking for a guy that will actually be the OC and call plays. it just takes a lot off like the OC's plate, and I know it's a lot for Ben. Trust me. It's,
Yep.
we saw how stressed out he was looking.
Oh my goodness!
Throughout the season, it was funny. Like between his opening press conference and like the start of the season, it's like, wow, this guy looks like he's 10 years older now.
He just has never calmed down once.
Yeah, but I mean that's who Ben is, and if we decide to bring in Will Lawing, he was the OC under Bill O'Brien at Boston College. I don't know if he's. I mean, I'm assuming he's not going to be the OC, but we'll see what happens there. I don't think it's life or death with who if we don't get our top guy at OC just because we already have Ben that's calling plays. So.
Yeah, moving on from coaches to players, because the offseason is where Super Bowl contenders are built, and you build those mainly, obviously, with players. It's great to have a great coaching staff. You do need that, but
Absolutely.
It comes down to the players a lot of times. So just to give a slight overview for people of what we're working off of, this is all from SpotTrack, which is a database that tracks cap space, contracts, everything in the NFL. Bears are 26th out of the 32 teams when it comes to the 2026 projected salaries cap space. They're at negative 10.7 million, so 10.7 million off the cap. I didn't get a chance to find out if that includes the cap going up as it's projected to. I would think they include that, so that's what we're going to be working off of. And me and Ethan were talking pre-show, but there are so many more big contracts than I thought were going to be on this Bears roster, and they're for guys that frankly, right now, are not producing at a high enough level, I think, to justify the money they're getting.
Well, Dio Odengbo's, he's like the prime example of that. You mentioned here he's hitting the $20.5 million against the cap. Not great. I know we kind of took a shot in the dark almost. Like we knew coming in, I guess, just like he wasn't a finished product, even with the Colts.
Right.
We're kind of just getting him based off potential. And even before he got injured this year, we were also saying, he wasn't playing great. So in hindsight, not a great move. Sometimes you swing and miss on some of these moves. So.
Yeah, a couple others, and we'll get into them as we get into specific players, but like Grady Jarrett stood out as a guy that's around 20 million. Jonah Jackson, who I get it, you wanted to make the offensive line better, and he, of those three, I think played the best.
Yeah.
He wasn't
Grady
bad.
Jarrett, not great,
but Jonah Jackson played good, but he's 20 million. I mean, I think that is an overpay for him. And so those are just a couple of guys that you're looking at and you're going, man, that's a lot of money that gets eaten up quick by not premium guys on the roster. As we get into free agents here, a lot of defense.
Yeah.
So we're starting with safety Kevin Byard, defensive tackle or nose tackle, whatever you'd like to call him, Andrew Billings, safety Jaquan Brisker, wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus, safety that was picked up midway through the year and played good considering, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Nishan Wright, a revelation off the practice squad. He is a free agent. DeMarco Jackson, who had a couple good highlights, and I liked what he did when he got time this year at linebacker. Free agent Durham Smythe, who was the third tight end behind Kmet and Colston Loveland. Free agent, and then to wrap that up, two of the three people who played left tackle, that would be Braxton Jones, who was benched earlier this year, and then Theo Beneday, who was out or in and out of the lineup, both with injuries, poor play, rotating a little bit with Ozzie Trapillo as well as some other guys. But there are more as well that you need to fill out a roster. But those, when you look at their sheet, are the biggest of the guys that are up for a new contract. You're going to have to re-sign. Ethan, who stands out to you as a guy that you would say, hey, the Bears really need to keep this guy?
Honestly, man, it's so funny because a lot of these even defensive, backs like Nishan Wright and Kevin Byard were so like turnover dependent, I guess, as opposed to being an actual coverage guy. I think, I know he's had the concussion issues, but Jaquan Brisker, I feel like really stood out in the playoffs to me. That's the guy out of all these players that are at the top of the list, because some of these other positions like D tackle, even, left tackle, these are places we can go in the draft and get a guy in a late first round, a second round, third round. So I think through the draft you can kind of do that. And if we lose a guy like Braxton Jones, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that at this point. But I think the top of the list has to be Jaquan Brisker, because especially late in the season and early in the playoffs, I mean, he was kind of a force to be reckoned with.
He was making plays. It seemed like he was everywhere, especially against the run, making very good stops.
Which was huge.
The Lions game comes to mind, the one that we went to, where basically ended a drive in the red zone himself in 3 straight tackles that made the Lions kick a field goal, ultimately keeping the Bears in that game. So I agree. I think he is the one, at least on the defensive side, that stands out, because defense. I think that's the theme of this offseason, as we watch some good plays from the defense. But this was an inconsistent unit for all of the year. And so I have it as every single level, you're going to need to bring in some more talent, because the defensive front, not great. They're giving up 5 yards per carry. They're 6th lowest in the NFL in pressure percentage. That was in the regular season, so it's not taking into account the postseason.
Yeah.
That's not good. You cannot allow 5 yards per carry. That's not sustainable. Again, you're probably not going to have 33 turnovers this year. So defensive front needs help. We've been talking all year about how the linebacker play. These are two highly paid guys in Edmonds and Edwards. I don't think they lived up to those contracts either.
No.
And then the defensive back room is really an island of misfit toys is what it feels like, from really old Kevin Byard, who's a journeyman, to Deshaun Wright, who we love, we've given flowers to, but guy was on the practice squad last year, right? You probably don't want him to be your number 2 corner.
Also was getting torched in just coverage, like down to down. So.
Exactly. So nose for the football, that we won't say much else outside of that. We'll focus on the positives.
Yeah. And
then the injuries between Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson. So laying all that out to say, hey, the defense is going to need some help this year.
100%.
And so I don't see how it's not Brisker. If it wasn't Brisker, I actually think it's probably Kevin Byard.
Yeah.
He played solid. Hold down that free safety spot and say, okay, we'll take care of more premium positions in free agency in the draft. Can we bring Byard back on just a solid contract and fill that spot?
Yeah, and I think that's the right move, too. That's really the only other guy out of any of these guys that I think we need back. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was another guy that, filled in nicely and forced some turnovers, but in coverage, I mean, he was a guy that was getting cooked, against
it's like
Green
maybe if you
Bay.
could get the league minimum for him and just have him as a nice depth piece. And that's probably a lot of what these guys are. Andrew Billings, same thing.
Yeah, DeMarco Jackson's another guy who I would like to bring back as a depth piece. Like, maybe not even as a starter, but he definitely had some nice plays and nice games when he filled in, when the opportunity was given to him. But it's like you said, in the offseason, we're going to have to pretty much address every level of this defense. Defensive tackle, a safety with, coverage ability, linebackers, edge rushers, linebackers that can tackle, take the right angle and tackle.
Right.
So there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to address, and it's nice that, on the offensive side of the ball, at least with our weapons, it feels like we're pretty set, but when it's not one thing, it's another, and this defense needs a lot of work. It's going to be through the draft. It's going to be through signing free agents. It might be through trades. We'll see, but there's still a lot of things that we need to do, and a lot of these guys, I mean, if they end up elsewhere, it might be for the best.
Yeah. You hit on it. We're going to hit the offensive side. Coming out of this break, we'll talk about DJ Moore, a lot of these guys who are on big contracts. Where do they fall in the pecking order? What do the Bears do with them? And then finish off with some draft talk. Who we would like to see drafted and at what positions for the Bears. Stick with us. Welcome back in. We're continuing to truck along with the Bears offseason preview. We told you about a lot of free agents they're going to be looking at re-signing, mostly on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of holes to fill there. You want to see some better play at that defense, right, Ethan? That's what we've been talking about.
100%.
Now, though, we're going to look at some big numbers that could be moved around, especially we're talking about guys like DJ Moore, and that's where I want to sit right now, because online Bears fans really pretty much since the season ended are saying, okay, Rome played really well before the foot injury. Luther Burden looks like a revelation, the second-round pick. Colston Loveland was the number 1 target when we got to the end of the year. Where does DJ Moore fit into all this? Because he's getting paid a lot of money for a guy that seems like a luxury right now.
Yeah, and I think he finished the season with about 600 yards, which is honestly right around where like Rome and Loveland, all these guys had very similar yardage. And, you look back at the season, DJ Moore had some great plays, some fantastic plays.
You're seeing them right now.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier, just, DJ Moore, this throw was incredible, and we didn't even really mention it when we were looking back at Caleb's top throws of the year, because there was just so many.
Because there's ones like this right here.
Obviously, the game winner against against the Packers in the regular season, but there were a lot of lowlights from DJ as well. Obviously, that interception in the divisional game was huge, and that was mostly on DJ Moore, and the effort thing has been, a red flag, it seems, at least the past season or two. So I don't know. I've seen people talk about maybe, trading DJ to the Steelers for a 4th or something along those lines. I think, he's still a very valuable player, and I know he's approaching 30 years old, but I think losing him would not be the end of the world for the Bears, and it might be, in their cards this offseason.
I really would like to see them try and find a trade, and it might be, it seems to be when a player like this, an older receiver with a bigger contract, gets traded, it's like him in a 7th for a 6th or something like that, right? Where you swap up around or, 7th for a 5th, like whatever, that range of what you are sending out and what's coming back. I think getting a little bit higher of a draft pick and the cap savings, I think that's just worth it. Because what are you getting from him right now that you probably can't get from Luther? I even would re-sign Olamide Zaccheaus, right? And now you have a good stable of receivers between Rome, who's now going to be healthy. We talked about Loveland basically being the number one option from the tight end spot, but he's pretty much a receiver at this point. Burden, Olamide Zaccheaus, and then Jade Walker, and fill out the rest of that. But I'm okay with that being the weapons in the receiver room if that means you can save $15 million. That gets you under the cap already without doing anything else.
Yeah, me too. It's funny, like, just hearing you explain that. It's almost like when Travis Kelce was, like, the go-to guy for the Chiefs.
Right.
And they didn't have a true, like, wide receiver one. Now, will Rome emerge as a true wide receiver one next year if he's healthy? Maybe. But even if he doesn't, you still have Loveland, who can be that top target in the offense.
Yes.
You have Luther, who's the explosive guy. Zaccheaus obviously had some drop issues, but he's kind of been there and done that, so you know what you're getting out of him. And if Rome can take that step up, I mean, not having DJ Moore there, I don't know how much we would really feel that, And like you said, just moving up around in the draft and then the cap space, it almost seems to be worth it at this point. I think DJ Moore's best years as a Bear are behind him, and a lot of that was him just getting fed the ball because we didn't have a lot of other weapons, and it was kind of like those teams that had 4 or 5 wins. But I don't know. I think as much as I've liked DJ and obviously he gave us some great moments this past year, I think it might be time for the Bears to move on.
Yeah, and as we talk about draft picks, let's talk about the draft because that is the place you get young talent, right? You get it cost controlled. It's awesome. The Bears have let's see if I'm remembering this correctly. So they have a first, the 25th pick.
Yep.
Second is the 57th pick, I believe. And then the third is the 89th pick. And then their fourth through everything else, that is to be determined as of when I looked at the Chicago Bears website yesterday. So they have some other picks as you go later into day 3. But right now they confirmed 25, 57, 89. What position or positions, I guess, since it's 3 picks, would you be wanting them to take? Even if it's not exact players, just we need to fill out this role.
Say defensive tackle for sure, 100%.
Yes.
Wouldn't mind an edge rusher with one of those first 2 picks, and then even a linebacker maybe. I just really think the Bears need to pick defense with both of these first 2 picks. That's just me. If there's a left tackle or something that slides, maybe then yeah, perhaps. But
you took the words out of my mouth. The only offensive position that I would want them taking in the first 3 rounds of the draft is if you get somebody that can play left tackle and go, hey, we're going to bring back some combination of Beneday, Trapillo, can he get healthy in time, and then rookie to be named later, and see if we can patch together the left tackle room with those 3 guys.
Yeah, Caden McDonald out of Ohio State's a name I've seen that could, possibly go. Zion Young from Missouri, edge rusher.
Yep.
I just think those positions are so needed, and Montez Sweat's another guy that we haven't really talked about. It's like can the Bears, should they move on from him with how much they're paying him? I think in the draft we can get a guy that might not be as immediately as effective, but if we get a first round edge rusher, that would be huge.
Yeah, I think I was doing some mock drafts on Saturday for a show through Draft Professors. Shout out Jim Wickens. He's had me on a couple of times. And so he has this thing through his simulator, which is fun, which you go through 5 unique first rounds. And so if you take a player, when you go back for the second first round, it'll take that player away. And so you can't just take Caleb Banks 5 times, right? Defensive tackle out of Florida. You have to get versatile, and it makes you hit different positions. And so the guys that I took were Caleb Banks, defensive tackle out of Florida, really explosive guy, 6'6", 330, moves unreal for that size. Like really twitchy, 35-inch arms. I comped him to a dancing bear because he moves in a way that you shouldn't move for a guy who's that big.
Right.
Has some injury concerns. He only played in half a game this year because of a foot injury, got surgery on it, but at the Senior Bowl, looks like he's fully back. You mentioned Caden McDonald. He's more of that run stopper type of guy, just plugs up. He's not going to give you nearly any pass rush, but you're really not going to be able to move him. Even with double teams, it's tough to move him.
Right.
Lee Hunter, defensive tackle, Texas Tech. He is, I guess, a blend of the two where he's got more pass rush juice than Caden McDonald does, not as much as Banks. and then a little bit better run stopper, gap holder than Banks, but not as good as McDonald. So a little happy medium there. I also threw in a guy like Avion Terrell, corner out of Clemson, because I think second corner alongside Jalen Johnson is a massive need.
Huge.
And I've even seen Daniel Jeremiah mocking in guys like Dylan Tieneman. I think I saw that right because it's an interesting name. But Dylan Tieneman, safety out of Oregon. So I think that hits all the positions. And C.J. Allen, I think linebacker from Georgia was the last one that I took. And so those are the guys I would be looking at in the first round of the draft to say, hey, we're going to knock it out of the park. We're not going to put defense on the back burner. Last draft was about offense with Loveland, Bird, and Trapillo. This draft is going to be about defense and filling that out.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think we ended up smashing it last year with the offensive picks.
Well, I think I was going back prepping for that episode, and I think it's the Bears and the Browns that had the best drafts of last year. Again, only 1 year in, but
yeah,
I mean, it's at least a top 5 draft coming out of last year. A lot of really good players for the Bears.
100%. Yeah, and we got the offense pretty much allocated from last year, even in free agency and through the draft. But I think we need to hammer the defense this draft. Maybe you could take a wide receiver later, or just if there's best guy available later on. But I really think those first 2 to 3 rounds has to be defensive guys.
Totally agree. Premium picks, and then once you get to 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, it's like, do you like this guy? Take him. It's not really positional value at that point. It's just trying to get good players. Anything else that you want to hit on the Bears before we jump into the Colts?
I just think, in the coming weeks, we're going to see some things that, maybe I would not be shocked if DJ Moore gets moved. Obviously the left tackle thing with Ozzie Trapillo, he's probably not going to be back next year. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do there. But, and there's not a lot, like you mentioned, not a lot of tackles in free agency. So I think that's going to be, if we don't take a defensive guy, taking a tackle in the second round or third round, that would be huge. So
totally agree. Colts now in a bit of a different spot. Don't have that quarterback position figured out. They are 11th in 2026 projected salary cap space at $35 million. The biggest thing that any Colts reporter is talking about, Alec Pierce is a free agent. Alec Pierce, breakout year, first year over 1,000 yards, really transformed his game from being just a deep threat to being a solid receiver in all facets of the game. Do the Colts bring him back? Because it's going to cost about in the $20 million range. Is that something that you still want the Colts to do?
I think so, yeah. I think he's really proved himself this year. And he's a 3-down wide receiver, but he still gives you that deep ball threat. And here we go. This is the 66-yard touchdown that he caught. Longest of his career. But Alec Pierce is really, kind of taking that step. And that's not really a guy that I expected to step up this year. I thought he'd continue to improve, but just the way that he did it, he's kind of a must to he's almost a security blanket for the quarterback next year. And you need a guy like that. And, Michael Pittman's not going to be this elite receiver anymore that people, thought he was supposed to be. And obviously he's given you some good years, but Alec Pierce, I mean, if he re-signs, even if it's for in the $20 million range, I mean, he's going to be that top wide receiver target next year.
Dude, get him back. I think him and Warren complement each other perfectly because Warren is more of that I'm working short, intermediate, and then run after the catch type of guy. Pierce still takes the top off. He is a top 5 deep threat in the league. He's so underrated, just period, but I think even in that aspect as well. He's not a guy just, I think, because he plays for the Colts and he wasn't highly drafted, he doesn't get talked about like that, but he is so good at taking the top off of a defense. So I say you bring him back. 20 million, 22 million, as long as if he gets into that 30 million for a bunch of teams bidding on him, okay, you can let him go. But I think he is a piece that the Colts need to bring back. Coming up after this, we will continue to hit on more pieces that the Colts need to bring in. Glaring hole at quarterback. What do they do with that? We'll hit more of that next. Welcome back into Midwest Mashup. We've already hit the Chicago Bears, what we would like to do what we would like them to do in the offseason. The Indianapolis Colts, a bit of a tougher task, wouldn't you say, Ethan? There are more holes, more question marks when it comes to this team.
Yeah, and the biggest glaring issue is quarterback, and that's, where you want to be set in your roster is, we have our quarterback of the future. It looked like Daniel Jones was kind of slated for that, at least for the next maybe 5 years or so. I mean, with the start to the season, offensively, this team was unbelievable, but then obviously the season-ending injury, when is he going to be back? I doubt he's going to be, ready anywhere near the beginning or even middle of the season. So, you have Riley Leonard now. There's some free agents, Malik Willis, Tyrod Taylor.
The list gets bleak quick. Basically, it's Malik Willis, and then you said Tyrod Taylor, Joe Flacco, and Marcus Mariota are the other, I guess you would say, top guys at this point.
Pro Bowler Joe Flacco. I mean, maybe you could trade for Kyler Murray. Like, he got a spot taken by Jacoby Brissett, kind of, but do you want to trade for Kyler Murray and take on that massive contract? There's not a lot of great options out there, basically, is the point. Right. Yeah, there's not. And, man, it's just so unfortunate because Daniel Jones was rolling this year, and it's
so good.
Looked great, and, he was battling that injury for a few weeks, and it definitely hampered him mobility-wise, which is what we saw. But then just for him to go down, I mean, the season really fell off the rails from there. I guess it's just not great.
No.
It's really not. And Mariota and Malik Willis are maybe the two guys that I'd want. But like you mentioned here, they don't have a 2027 first. So it's like you can't, just have a tank season.
Right. Which is so unfortunate how it went down with that trade. And then literally 2 weeks later, boom, Daniel Jones tears his Achilles. And there's just nothing you can do to plan for that. I think for me at quarterback, I would go Marcus Mariota. I think he fits what Shane Steichen can work with in terms of that level of quarterback with a little bit of mobility. Think the Gardner Minshew plan, basically. And then let him and Riley Leonard compete it out. Because I think Malik Willis is going to command multi-year deal. And not anything crazy, but somewhere in the $20 to $30 million range is the reports. And I wouldn't do that because I would try to bring Daniel Jones back and say, you're just going to get healthy this year, recover, do what you can. 2027, we'll have you back. And so if you're going to do that, you just can't pay that much for a stopgap quarterback for a year.
Right, and I don't think that would be the right move either. We saw what Daniel Jones brought to the table, so it's like, hey, this offense was really rolling with this guy, and obviously some of these players are going to be older, like Jonathan Taylor, but just having him back and what you're getting, even though it was just half a season, you got to feel best about Daniel Jones compared to any of the rest of these guys. Definitely over Riley Leonard, but
for sure.
Over any of these free agent quarterbacks. Like you mentioned, Mariota would just be a stopgap guy for a year, but yeah, I don't know. And it's going to be interesting to see how this upcoming season, you got to imagine if they're going to take a quarterback in free agency, the ceiling's not going to be that high, unfortunately.
No. It would be that 1 year stopgap and see what you can get out of it. I mean, maybe they impress and do a Daniel Jones impression, and blow up, but that's just probably not going to happen. And so now we're going to pivot to looking at players that are on the roster right now. And so a lot of free agents. I'll go through, I guess, the big names here. Braden Smith, offensive tackle. Daniel Jones, like we just mentioned. Kwity Paye, defensive end. Jermaine Pratt was the second linebacker for the Colts this year. Nick Cross at safety, guy we both really liked. Those are the names. I mean, you got like Amir Abdullah, who was the third running back, and a couple other guys. But those are the big names in terms of, hey, either you need to bring them back or they're going to take a solid player to replace them. Before we even go, we'll stay there. So out of those guys, who do you think the Colts should really fight to bring back?
I think you need to re-sign Daniel Jones just because, that's kind of the quarterback you're looking at least being the starter going forward in the near future. And then Nick Cross is a guy that, like you said, we both really like. I think he brings a lot defensively. He's a guy that, can make the plays, but also from down to down, and he forces turnovers as well. He kind of gives you the best of both worlds there. So I think those two guys, would be at the top of my priority list. I'm interested to hear what you're going to say.
Yeah, I had the same thing. The only thing I would add to that is re-signing Braden Smith. Because you have things really in flux in a lot of other spots, I would just say, hey, we're going to have this tackle spot locked down. And he played pretty good this year, so
he's solid.
He's by far the best tackle that's in free agency right now. And so I would do everything I could to bring him back. To do that, though, you're going to have to create some cap space because we mentioned we'd love to sign Alec Pierce. It's probably going to be about $22 million a year. Braden Smith is going to be, Spot Track said, about $15 a year. Daniel Jones, even with the injury, you're probably looking at about $30 million a year. That's the Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield level of money. That adds up quick. And so the thing that I think a lot of other people are looking at is Michael Pittman Jr.'s contract, $29 million cap hit. I looked down just to double check that because that is a lot of money for a guy in Michael Pittman that is a good player. He's a useful player. He's not a $30 million player.
No, and he's not really a wide receiver one, at least anymore at this point in his career. And we've kind of seen Alec Pierce, kind of take that from under him. Yeah, Michael Pittman's been great for the Colts, but if they want to help themselves out cap wise, I think it's time to trade him, move on, and just see what else is out there.
Yeah, I would say pretty much what we said for DJ Moore, copy and pasted here.
Yeah,
where you try and look for a trade where you move up a little bit in the draft. Go from a 7th to a 6th round pick, 7th to 5th round pick, whatever that happens to be. I think it's going to be tough because that just is a lot of money to move. What team is really going to say, who we really need right now? Michael Pittman Jr. for $30 million. Like, I wrote down maybe it's the Patriots, maybe it's the Chiefs, not even those teams specifically, but that type of team that doesn't have a really reliable wide receiver right now. But again, like the Pats are a young ascending team. Why do they want an older guy for $30 million?
Yeah,
the
and
Chiefs
who's going to take that on?
Need explosive type receivers, right? They have their Rashee Rice, who's a bigger possession and then catch and run kind of guy. I don't know how you move him, but you got to try at least just to get that contract off the books. Or if the other option would be if he is willing to somehow renegotiate, spread that money out, knock the cap hit down. If he's been a Colt his whole career, and I know he's talked about how he really likes the Colts and loves the organization. So the other option is, will he lessen that cap hit? But I think it's going to be tough to ask a guy, hey, can we not pay you?
No, I know.
As much as we said we're going to pay you. Like, that's a tough ask.
Especially to a guy that has been here and has been, loyal to the Colts. And obviously that would be the perfect situation if he was to renegotiate that contract. I just don't really see that happening. But I also don't see any legitimate suitors for, to take on that contract of Michael Pittman. And, you're getting with a guy like this. So it's an unfortunate situation for the Colts right now. And I think bringing back Alec Pierce, maybe they could do a renegotiation with Pittman after that. But I don't know. It's Colts are not in a great spot right now. They're not in a horrible spot, because obviously, but man, that $29 million cap hit is
it's a lot of money.
I can't believe that. Like, I don't know, but we'll see.
Contract has not aged great. The other thing, we talked about them not having their first round picks. They're going to have to find some diamonds in the rough. Their second round pick is number 47. Third is number 78. So, Ethan, with those top two selections like we did for the Bears, what positions would you like to see them take?
Linebacker, I think, is a big one for them. Huge. And again, I'd like to see them focus on defense more than offense.
Yes.
I think weapons-wise, I think you're fine with what you have out there, especially if, Pittman's going to stick around and then you bring Alec Pierce back. Can't really draft a future quarterback, at that point in the draft. But focusing on defense and particularly linebackers, I think, would be a big, top of the list for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think defensive line is there as well. Just DeForest Buckner went down, and you saw, hey, he is holding together a lot of this defensive line, especially from the pass rush perspective. So if you can find a guy that can create a little disruption there, both in the run, but especially in the pass game, I think that would be very good for the Colts. But defense first is how I would go. Tyler Warren has settled in as a very good tight end. You already hit on the wide receivers. Jonathan Taylor's not slowing down at running back. So I think you do have to go all systems go on defense and then see what you can find in the quarterback. We've talked a lot of football here. We're going to flip over to basketball because there's a lot of fun trades going down for the Bulls for a lot of the league. And we're going to break it all down because we're not quite sure what the Bulls are doing. It feels like that's always how it's going, but we'll try to verbally process all of that after this. Welcome back to Midwest Mashup. Thank you as always for tuning in to our 26th episode. And it's trade deadline season for the NBA. A lot of different things going down. We talked a little bit about the big trade between the Jazz and the Grizzlies as the Grizzlies look to rebuild. They're trading Jaren Jackson Jr. away for a bunch of different stuff. Walter Clayton Jr., go Gators, as well as 3 first-round picks, a couple other offers coming down. Actually, right now, we just got the word that Anthony Davis was traded to the Wizards. A ton of players in there. There's like 4 players on both sides, and then the Mavericks get 2 first and 3 seconds. 2 first, 3 seconds. And so a lot of stuff going down in the final hours of the trade or before the trade deadline happens. And the Bulls have been, I don't want to say a big part of that. Maybe an interesting.
They've been active.
An active and interesting part of that. And so there's a lot of games that we will wrap real quick after this. But I think the bigger news is some of these trades. And so, Ethan, there are two that have gone down so far, and I'll just kick it to you, whichever one you would like to start with.
Yeah, so we could start with the 3-team trade, I guess. Right before all the madness started, Bulls got Dario Saric and 2 second-round picks. They ended up waiving Javon Carter to create cap space for Saric, who then was only here for a couple of days. And the Bulls didn't give up anything in this trade. Dennis Schroeder moved, DeAndre Hunter moved, but the big trade really was trading Vooch and a second to Boston for Anthony Simons and a second. I think, Bulls fans for a while have wanted Vooch to be gone just because of, him not really playing as a true big. I feel like, he could fit Boston's mold a little bit better, but now the Bulls pretty much have a million guards.
There's so many, because you haven't even gotten into another 3-team trade where the Bulls get Jaden Ivey from the Pistons, they get Mike Conley from the Timberwolves, and the Bulls trade away Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric. That's the trade where we're talking about Saric was in for a cup of coffee. What was your favorite memory of the Dario Saric era in Chicago, Ethan? What would you say?
Probably seeing that Bulls graphic of him being traded to us.
That was pretty sweet. Yeah,
the 1.1 points per game this season. I'm like, we're just getting a guy, man.
That's a guy you need. The one thing though is he is a big, so that might have been nice for the team to have.
They're
I
like,
guess they don't.
We don't want that.
The Bulls are doing a new strategy called the no big team. It means that everyone you have is under 6'7". So
yeah.
We'll see how that
Nice.
goes. So in this one, to wrap up again, Bulls get Jaden Ivey, Mike Conley. They trade away Kevin Huerter, Dario Saric to Detroit, and then Detroit gets a 2026 first from Minnesota. And so to wrap up the haul that the Bulls have gotten, it is Jaden Ivey, it's Mike Conley, it is kind of Dario Saric for a second there, and 2 second-round picks, and then or 3 second-round picks total alongside Anthony Simons.
Yep.
What out of that excites you the most, if anything?
I guess Jaden Ivey. I mean, he's 23 years old.
Yeah.
He's young. Mike Conley, just from everything I've been seeing, he basically just got traded to the Bulls for them to use as trade leverage. I mean, they're already shopping him to other teams. I don't expect him to ever suit up for the Bulls. It's going to be probably a Dario Saric situation. But Jaden Ivey, obviously, you mentioned yesterday he broke his leg. Before that, he was playing very well. Still very young, though. He was, this guy was a stud in college, and he kind of just got his minutes taken on a Pistons team that's now first in the East. Kind of wasn't in the best situation there. So on a team that's, apparently competing now, but, in the play-in, they're currently 10th in the East.
Oh, man.
I think he will have a good role, and I expect some of these guys like Kobe White, Io, Mike Conley, maybe even Trey Jones to be moved in the next 24 hours or so. So we'll see what happens. But out of those guys that we got, Jaden Ivey probably excites me the most.
Yeah, it's a bet I'm willing to take, right? He is young. He was averaging 18 points a game on 46% and 41% shooting before he broke his leg. So that's a small sample size within a season. But it seemed like he had turned a corner and then unfortunately didn't play 3/4 of last season or something close, trying to get back on a team that was competing, and I think it just didn't work out. But the talent is there, and so why not? 5th pick in the draft for a reason, see what you can get out of them. They're small, man. We made the joke earlier, but
small. It's
even
insane.
There's so many guards on this team, and even outside of that, there's just so many small guards as well. There's not even a guy where you go, oh, he's 6'7", he can kind of move from guard to wing. It's Anthony Simons listed at 6'3". Jaden Ivey's 6'5".
Yuki Kawamura's like 5'7".
5'7". Yeah, exactly. Mike Conley, I know he's not playing, but he's 6 foot. There's just not a lot of size on this team that already we've talked about so many times. The problem with the defense, A, they don't have a great point of attack guy, but B, they don't have any rim protection. Now they have less.
Yeah, now they have less. And you talk about teams playing positionless basketball, but I think the position that the Bulls want to play is the smallest point guards possible. I don't understand what's been happening with this team, but a lot of these guys that are coming in, like I said, I think they're just being used for leverage. I don't expect us to go out there and roll with 8 guards, which we have right now. It's unbelievable that we even have 8 guards on the team right now. But obviously a guy like Josh Giddey's going to be in the mix going forward, I would assume. Outside of that, maybe just Jaden Ivey and Anthony Simons. But I don't know, man. I don't think Yuki's going to be around a whole lot. So hopefully we really hone in on these guards and we don't go with 8 guys going forward. That would be huge.
Fight through that. I don't know if anybody just heard me, but I was losing. We're both behind the scenes fighting through some sicknesses here, and so I hit one of the nastiest cough spells in a while. So wow.
You're right.
I think we're going to be okay. I'm probably going to pop a cough drop in
There you go.
at the break. You mentioned it, and I just want to reinforce it. I think the Bulls need to move Kobe White. Io and Trey Jones are also two guys that have been looked at. And the one thing we'll probably hit from these past 4 games that we would have covered outside of the trade deadline, Io led the team in scoring in 2 of them. It seemed like he has been playing very, very well and turned a corner developmentally. Dude, get some firsts, get some picks, figure it out, rebuild. That's where I'm at. And if you're going to do that and you're going to tank, then I guess you don't need a center. Just throw
Have anyone out there.
This is like the bootleg version of that 2016 Warriors team where it was, the death lineup, their tallest guys, Draymond Green, except the Bulls aren't good.
Yeah, they had Steph Curry.
This is not the
Klay
death
Thompson.
lineup. Maybe we can name it like the alive lineup or something as they try to compete for the play-in again.
Yeah, but like you said, it's like we should be rebuilding. Why are we trying to compete now with this team? And, Io's a guy, like you said, he's turned a corner. He's averaging career highs in points. Use that as leverage. Is like, hey, this guy's literally popping off right now. Like, let's get a decent haul for him. This is the time to trade a guy. Sleepers reporting, the Pacers and Bulls have had discussions about Io for Benedict Mathurin. I don't know how much that would really do for the Bulls, but I think we need to just get to a point where we're in full tank mode. And I don't know if the ownership or management is along with that, but it just needs to happen. Like, for this team to actually find success going forward, it needs to be a full reset. And I hope that's the direction we go, where we just kind of stockpile on picks. But who's to say what's going to happen? But, Kobe White's still a guy that could command, hopefully, maybe a first in some aspect. If we
I would think so. His contract's not crazy.
Yeah, if we attach a pick along with him to send him somewhere else, but just get picks, get rid of these guys. It's been fun having them. I was a hometown kid, but get the return now while you can. Like, don't wait too long. That's basically my message to the Bulls.
I can't believe the roster that they're building right now.
It's
Jalen Smith at center, and Patrick Williams, I guess,
who has been just awesome.
He's been a great re-signing for the Bulls. We'll hit the Pacers real quick because their trade deadline, at least at this point, is maybe shopping Mathurin possibly.
Yeah,
I don't
for
think
Io, so
I don't think they should do that because Mathurin has looked great since coming back off of injury. That was the big thing from these games. In the 2 games back, he's looked good. He had 25 points on 8 of 15 shooting against, I believe it was the Jazz, or was it the Rockets game, excuse me. So, looking good. He's a young guy you took pretty early. I would just keep trying to bet on that. The Pacers are 13 and 38. They're last in the East, going for those lottery tank odds yet again. We're going to hit a break. We're probably both going to pop in cough drops here. We're fighting through it. And then we're going to hit NHL and maybe possibly a little MLB if we can squeeze it in. Coming right back. Welcome back to our final segment of Midwest Mashup here. We took the 2 minutes to recover. I think we're going to make it, but
I think so,
I
too.
realized I didn't bring my backpack up here with cough drops, so
brutal.
It's touch and go as to whether we're going to be able to get through this.
Good thing this is the last segment. That's all I gotta
Blackhawks
say.
are 22, 25, and 9, 6th in the Central. Starting off these games that we're covering, 6-2 loss at the Penguins.
Yeah.
Ethan, you take it away.
Not a great game. Honestly, all around, offense was not good. Bedard scored, which is huge because, we've kind of seen him be slow since he came back from that injury where he was out for practically a month. 2 assists from Frank Nazar, but Soderblom, not a great game, but he faced like a million shots, which is what I wrote. 38 saves on 44 shots. 6 goals against. When you're being more than double outshot, Hawks only had 20 shots on goal. Not a recipe for success. This is a game you kind of just want to forget. And these games happen, so just not a great game.
Going to keep pushing forward. 4-2 home loss against Columbus. We were talking, I think it was a couple days ago, I think the Columbus Blue Jackets are the most forgotten of the big 4 sports franchises.
They're up there, yeah.
I've never met a Columbus Blue Jackets fan.
I don't think I have either.
I don't think I've seen one online either.
No,
No fan accounts.
No. It's strange. I mean,
tough,
they're in. I know they're just in Ohio. Only really top, or Big 4 team in Columbus. It's an Ohio State area. Also, I wrote in this. I don't think the Hawks have won in their black jerseys.
Which
They
it
look
sucks 'cause they're sick. Yeah, exactly.
every time. They always wear them for home games, but feel like we lose every time we wear those black jerseys. Bedard, goal and an assist, so that would make 2 straight games with a goal. That's huge. Frank Nazar had a goal, team high 4 shots. Spencer Knight, not a great night. 88 save percentage.
Not a great night.
Nice. Spencer.
Dude, good.
Spencer, not a great night.
Do you get it?
Do you get it or no? 22 saves on 25 shots, 3 goals against. Again, just not great. It's good to see Bedard and Nazar obviously are 2 building blocks of this franchise going forward for them to be performing in back-to-back games. But again, when the goaltending's not there, you're not going to win the game.
Yeah, not Spencer Knight, excuse me. Connor Bedard heard us ragging on him a little bit. Hadn't been as good of a point scorer since he got back, and he turned it on. We love that. Charlie Coyle, hat trick for the Blue Jackets in that game. Trending up, though, 6-3 win, hosting the San Jose Sharks, the first dominant win that we're talking about today. Actually, the only dominant win that we're talking about today for the Blackhawks.
Yeah, and it's cool because the storyline going into this game was Macklin Celebrini, who was the number 1 overall pick, against Bedard. These 2 guys, have been very good since they entered the league.
Don't start it again, dude.
I'm sorry. And I was watching a bit of this game. The Hawks really, they were just dominating. Like, they had 5 goals in their first 11 shots. Donato had a filthy goal where he just basically deked out a defender, was falling down, and got it short side on the goalie. Bedard was mic'd up for this game, so that was kind of cool to see.
Nice.
Bedard, 3rd straight game with a goal, had a great goal on a 1-timer. That was the first goal of the game.
Oh, 1T, come on.
And Spencer Knight, 24 saves on 27 shots, but he was solid early, and that's really when the Hawks had that 5-1 lead. That's all you really needed from them. They gave up a few goals, scored again to make it 6-3, and then this was just a very comfortable win against the Sharks, who are not a great team, but it's still good to see, and especially winning at home.
Yeah, definitely want to take care of them if they're not a good team. Next game will be tonight as we record Wednesday at 6, and that will be at Columbus. So 2 really close games going against, I'm sorry if there are Columbus Blue Jackets fans that are listening to this.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would be, but
yeah. Yeah, unless you live there.
We really ragged on you there, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
St. Louis Blues, 27-9, last in the Central Division. It feels like them and the Hawks have been alternating that pretty much exactly. And right now it's the Blues' turn. Starting it off, though, 5-4 win over the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, this was a huge win over a great team. Obviously, the Panthers aren't as good as they were the last 2 years, which we've kind of mentioned every time one of these 2 teams plays them. But, Jordan Kyrou, 1 goal, 2 assists, had goals from Jake Neighbors, Jimmy Snuggerud, some other guys. Dude, these names, man, it's unbelievable.
You nailed Snuggerud, though, I will say, who I'm skipping past his game, but he had a pretty good week in terms of scoring goals.
Oh, yeah.
He had a goal and an assist against Columbus again.
Yeah, man. Sorry, Columbus.
They did lose that game, but a goal and assist in that one. So had a pretty good week. Shout out Jimmy Snuggerud.
A lot of high-scoring games, too. Obviously, the 5-4 win over the Panthers the next game. 5-3 loss against Columbus. And even in the win, Joe Hofford, not great. 16 saves on 20 shots. We have an 80 save percentage, which is very bad. Luckily, the Blues had 31 shots on goal.
Spoiler alert, it didn't get better this week either.
No, Jordan Binnington, man, these guys are just not good. They really need new goalies.
Yeah.
They have been selling them so hard this year. It's unbelievable. They outshot Columbus 31-22. Binnington gives up 4 goals, close to an 80 save percentage. That's not going to get it done. And then against the Predators, blew a 5-1 lead.
Ugh.
Brutal. Predators ended up switching their goalie after the 5th goal was allowed, and then the goalie that came in for relief stopped all 14 shots. He saw Joe Hofer, man, 22 saves on 28 shots. We can't be giving up 6 goals. That's brutal. 7.86 save percentage. Just not great, man. If after the season, just clean house with the goalies, get new goalies.
Yeah.
That's what you guys need to do.
Yeah, especially when you score 5 goals, 3 goals, and then 5 goals, you would expect to win. You would think 2 out of 3 of those games, and it's just not happening because of the goalkeeping. Their next game for the Blues will be tonight at 8:30. That is at Dallas playing the Stars. We're gonna skip all the way down here. We got to baseball.
Boom.
And we were talking during breaks. We didn't think we were gonna get here, but we're gonna go really quick for some moves for the White Sox. White Sox signed outfielder Austin Hayes, 1-year, $6 million deal. 2023 All-Star with the Orioles, has not done a ton since then and is at 30 years old. So a little bit of an older player, but a guy maybe can mentor some of the guys for the White Sox. This is overall a very young team. So I think a decent signing to bring in.
I think so too. And you lose Luis Robert, who's an outfielder. So Austin Hayes is a guy, platoon guy. He could maybe play in left, maybe play in right, some games in center. Needed to fill that hole, and they did. Traded Brian Ramos, third baseman, to Orioles for cash consideration. So it's kind of just a money move. Favorite player of all time, cash considerations. Retire the jersey, hang the banner for cash considerations.
See Reinsdorf, man.
But yeah, I mean, I guess outside of that, just making some moves. Not a ton of big money moves. Obviously, the White Sox never really throw a ton of money at players, but yeah, I mean, it's looking good going forward. Hopefully, we pass that 70-75 win mark. We'll see what happens. This team could be sneaky good, and with some of these moves, definitely better than last year.
Yeah, over-under is set at 64.5, or DraftKings is the one who set that. I would take the over. I think this team could get to 70 wins with some of the moves they made, young guys getting better, stuff like that. Cubs, dude, speaking of hang the banner, hang the offseason A grade from The Athletic.
Yeah.
Hang that banner. Players to keep an eye on that you have in spring training: Shota Imanaga, Matt Shaw, Miguel Amaya, Hunter Harvey, and Ben Brown.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one of those five, which one are you really drilling down on and say, hey, want to see what they're doing in spring training because they're going to be very, very important going forward?
100% it's Shota.
Yes.
I think, with the question marks, bringing him back, I think with Justin Steele coming back, who's probably projected to be the ace, can Shota still be that surefire number 2 guy? He struggled a lot with home runs last year. Second half of the season was bad, but
Brewer series was not good either.
Yeah, and his rookie year was great, and so I think this is going to be the year where the Cubs decide if they want to keep him around for the future. So he needs to perform like yesterday, pretty much for them. He needs to be good right away. Hopefully he's solid through spring training. But yeah, their offseason obviously with the Bregman signing has been huge. So shout out to the Cubs. I think they're going to be right in the running for an NL Central title again this year. Obviously the Brewers are a very good team, but if the pitching's back, if Justin Steele's back and he's healthy, and then if Shota can return to that rookie year campaign, I think the Cubs will be in a good spot.
Totally agree. We got about 30 seconds here to talk Cardinals. We hit on this big last episode, but traded All-Star Brendan Donovan. Or we were saying, will they trade All-Star Brendan Donovan? Yeah. He has been traded to the Mariners. Mariners just get Donovan. Cardinals get 22-year-old right-handed pitcher Herangelo Clegente, 20-year-old center fielder Ty Pete, Colton Ledbetter, another outfielder, and then 2 competitive balance round B picks. That's the first time I've ever heard of something like that. Do you think that this was a pretty good haul for Donovan?
I think so. Honestly, you get some prospects, and then Gerangelo, he's actually a switch pitcher, which is interesting.
Pretty sick.
Pitches with left and right arms, which, I mean, you don't really see that very often, but he's 22, Ty Pete's 20, 24-year-old Colton Ledbetter, and I think at this point, getting that and then picks as well, you got to be in rebuild mode. And now with that, I mean, the Cardinals have a really good prospect pool. They have the number 5, 34, 37, 87, 91, 98 prospects currently, and they're slowly becoming one of the best farm systems in the MLB. And I think from being stuck in where they have been the last few seasons to see that and have a young core, that's got to be huge for Cardinals fans.
You know what else is huge for us? We made it through this segment without coughing a ton, and so I'm going to give ourselves a pat on the back. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back next week.
Hopefully healthier.
Hopefully healthier. I think we're trending in a good direction. Me too. Hopefully we can just be fully healthy and get this in. We'll be talking a lot of basketball, hockey, baseball. We're pretty much going to be done with football unless some bigger news comes out. Yeah. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks, guys.